Dave. So it's been a couple weeks since I did a video. I figured we've been away from the game for a while, so maybe it would be worthwhile to read through this story first, and then I could help you work on exercise 13A, which is down at the bottom here, and then 13C, which is always the hardest because you're trying to get the Latin right. It's one thing to read Latin and translate it into English, that's usually easier. But translating into proper Latin is always the most challenging thing I find as a teacher. So I'll help you with a couple of problems on each of those, give you a head start on points on those, and you can send me messages if anything remains unclear. So this may take 15 minutes. Maybe I'll break it up into exercise 13A first, and then we'll do a separate video for 13C. So this chapter introduces the idea of the imperfect tense we see right here. And you will, for most regular verbs, you will see that there is the letters BA over here inserted into the middle of a verb. That's how you recognize the imperfect tense. Not for all verbs, but for regular verbs. There are some irregular verbs, like, say, the verb sum, esse, which means to be. Irregular, imperfect tense of those verbs are eram, eras, erat, eramos, eratis, erant. So I was, you were, he or she was, we were, you all were, or you plural were, and they were. So not all imperfect verbs have this BA in the middle, but regular verbs for the most part do. So let's find out what happens in the story here. We see a rather alarmed look on the face of, I believe that's Sextus there. And the coachman's name is Cyrus. And if you remember, a tabularius, a guy who is in a small, not a chariot, but a small vehicle pulled by two horses, is just going by. Oh no, actually no, that's in this chapter. I'm sorry. So that's what's going to happen is that this carriage is going to eventually fall into this ditch over here because they were not able well, they avoided the courier who goes by, but he so confuses the coachman that he ends up driving the carriage into the ditch. So I'm going to read through this, and you can follow along with me. I'll sort of use my cursor here. Whoops, hold on. And I'll keep the cursor over the words that I'm reading. So, Interea, meanwhile, the Cornelii, that's the family, not Cornelius, but the Cornelii, that's the family themselves, the whole family. Meanwhile, the Cornelii were making a journey, as you say down here, they were traveling. Literally, they were making a journey, but we say they were traveling along the Appian Way. Cornelius, because he wanted to arrive at the city in 3 days, uh, again and again kept ordering Cyrus, he's the coachman, to urge on the horses. Cyrus, therefore, kept beating, another imperfect verb there, the horses, and then here's an ablative, with a switch or with a stick. So there's the word for stick down here, virga, and this is, note the ablative there. So this means with a stick or with a switch. While they were going along, another imperfect verb, note the ba. While they were going along the road, Aurelia and Cornelia were looking at, another imperfect verb, ba, the peasants who were working in the fields. Marcus and Sextus were watching all the carriages which were going along the Appian Way. And that's the main sort of road that goes all the way from Rome down to southern Italy. It's a main thoroughfare of ancient times and still exists in some parts today. It was the seventh hour. That means that it was, let's see, the first hour is from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock in the morning. The Romans start their day at 6 a.m. And so if we go from 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, it was the seventh hour. So that's roughly the hour from noon until 1 o'clock. It was the seventh hour. The day was warm. In the fields, the peasants were no longer working, but were resting sub arboribus, under the trees. And there's again that ablative ending with the preposition sub. In the carriage, Cornelius and Aurelia were already or were now sleeping. Ba again, imperfect verb. Were sleeping. Marcus was bothering Cornelia with his foot. So, like maybe he's kicking Cornelia or something like that. Pede is an ablative there. So, what instrument is he using, you could say, to bother Cornelia? And that's his foot. So, Marcus, with his foot, was bothering Cornelia, who was wishing to sleep or who wanted to sleep. Note again, past tense, BA. Sextus was sitting with the coachman Cyrus. He was watching the road and the vehicles. This is actually a direct object. It's a plural neuter verb. You're probably wondering why doesn't it have an ending like am or as or something like that, and we'll get to that soon. Suddenly shouts Sextus, "Look, Marcus, it's a charioteer, est auriga." Auriga found in the vocabulary list down here, auriga. Marcus, with a loud laugh, with a big laugh, and you could say that's ablative manner. How does he respond? With a loud laugh. It's not a charioteer, stupid. It is a courier who carries or brings letters of famous or distinguished citizens from the city. Couriers always travel iter faciunt again from here quickly because they carry or they bring letters from the city to all parts of Italy. How quickly he is traveling, shouts Sextus. He's urging on the horses fiercely or violently, or yeah, fiercely down here, with a switch. Watch out for the courier, Cyrus. Hold the horses. Watch out for the ditch. Watch out for the ditch. Cyrus holds the horses and avoids, from Vito Vitare down here, the courier, but the carriage goes down into the ditch. How? With a great crash. Magno fragore, another ablative there, with a great crash. All right, I'm going to stop this video now, and then we'll get on to 13a and then 13c.